Yeah, we're going to introduce the role-level data lineage at Carbonfact. In a few words, at Carbonfact, it's a SaaS platform where we measure and reduce product carbon footprint. So we mostly work with the footwear and apparel brands. So overall, we calculate lifecycle analysis for shoes, bags, t-shirts. And so one of the complexity here is to work with data coming from different providers. So at the same time, I have the brand's data, but also supplies the data to T3, etc.
So that's the hard part. Every customer we work with has a different IT system. And our job at the data team was to make sense of that. And so we developed a parsing engine that connects to the IT systems, and sometimes it's just CSV files or database. And it's going to normalize, it's going to sanitize, it's going to organize the data so that we can do the LCAs and actually show to the customer the carbon footprint of their products. So the difficult part is not measuring the LCA, like the footprint per se. It's really getting from the messy state of the customer to a clean state that can be measured, right? And so we developed a kind of lineage for our data points. So here you have like a stock super nice with the like a table, and every cell is a data point, by the product weight, the country, the size, by the price, etc. And it goes for a life cycle. Like we get the raw data from a customer, we shape it, we're going to normalize it. So far as a taxonomy, we may detect anomalies or sanitization. We're going to fill with gap filling, because sometimes they don't even know the weight of the product. So there's loads of like steps along the life cycle of the data point. And what we want to do for like auditability and transparency purposes is for every data point of every customer, we want to know where it comes from and what happened. And so we didn't really find any tools out there to do this. Like there's a lot of column level lineage tools out there, but there was nothing really to in a very ambitious way, down to the row level, down to the data point, the cell, track the lifetime. And so, well, we made something.
Yeah, so now we're going to get nerdy. Yeah. So yeah, we developed an open source package that we published today. In Python. Well, and so it's called bloodline. Before I go into the detail of how it works, and so now it was something we had directly in our system, and we decided to open source it to force ourselves to really create the right abstractions to make sure it could be reused by others. So it was a good exercise that we did in this one. And so we're going to relate it to different steps that Alex just presented to you before. And really the simplest way to use bloodline is it's basically a decorator on which we're going to override some pandas methods. So typically in this example, you just read a CSV file. And on the right, they show you in the exact example, we create basically a new column called data lineage. And automatically we're going to create some sources metadata. So it enables you to know exactly which file your data comes from. So in the context of Carbonfact, this is important because most of the brands we work with are not going to do a direct, let's say, connected to a database. Generally, they're going to send us a lot of files, for example, on prime product series. And so we need to also to help them understand where the data comes from. So this is one of the users we have with Bloodline. Then, so we had different ways of using it. Another thing we do is when we shape data, basically we're going to merge different data sources and say we want to make sure it's consistent. And so we track exactly which data source is linked to which column. Then we're going to go a little bit deeper. So once again, one of the specificities in our day-to-day job is we need to make some assumptions on the data. because it's not always good quality and the sales is not granular AF. And so we need to, most of the time, really assume some things. Typically, simple example, some brands don't have the product mass for all of the products. So it's something that we can fill in. It's even another example. Sometimes it's manually entered in some platforms. I had a brand with my words, which had a hat that weighted 40 kilos. I'm not sure. You don't have a big head, or maybe it's an elderly. And so in this kind of situation, say, we're going to assume that it's a bad data quality issue. And we're going to automatically, so bloodline is a function where we just apply data lineage. Underneath it's simply a column with dictionaries. And so in this case, I just replaced one of the mass of one of the products by our heuristics. And so we're going to give more information. So, okay, it's an heuristic. This is the name. And I give also all the metadata associated so that the customer can really understand why we changed the mass associated to it. Another example, it's close to the other one, but what also happens is time to time, so we have a platform once again on which customer can infer with the data and say, here it's an example where basically you had a roof configuration, so it's linked to an ID. What are the impacted SKUs linked to the room? And here we want to modify the price associated to it and say it's something that we follow at the row level. So you know exactly in the end, for each of the data points, what is the exact source type. So it's also useful on our side to understand what is the coverage of each kind of source. Because typically a customer that has 100% coming from his data source, never happened yet, but maybe that there's really good data quality behind. So it also enables us to assess what is the data quality of the customers and help them really improve the data quality. So yeah, I was going maybe a bit under the hood to explain how we implemented the bloodline. So the first part is it's a scope pandas hook. There was different strategies to implement bloodline. So really to replace all the pandas let's say the pandas functions, you can either do a monkey patch, so it's basically every time you're gonna say, so every time the code pandas.merge, you're gonna replace it with a function I created. There was a second way that is using what we call pandas accessors. It's basically you extend pandas functionalities. This didn't work well because it means you need to modify your code if you want to use bloodline, and we really wanted to create an easy decorator that is gonna really just add the new column created and not asking developers to really modify the core code. And so yeah, as it's a decorator, we started to implement some core pandas methods. So the read CSV I showed you before, do it for Excel files, that the merge will also show, then the join. And next functions we're going to implement is melts, fill and where, because basically we think that if we cover these methods, I think we cover nearly 80-90% of the use cases. Then there's the storage. As we said previously, it's really about, it's a pandas column, so it's dictionary stored in a column. It has limitations, so high memory usage. Some of our customers has lots of products, and so it requires a lot of memory. And reality, it's also runtime issues, because we read every single row, every single data points for multiple data sets. So yeah, when it's a big customer, it can take a lot of time. But the good thing is we have some ideas to improve it. So we really large. Ideally, to use DuckDB as the backend or store the different sources linked to it. And finally, we have the UR type.
Yeah, so that's just something we developed. We finished this week for the talk, but our ambition is so imagine we had many customers, can't say how many, and they all different files, we have wrote a Python code for each customer, and we want eventually to surface to each customer an ER diagram of their data that explains to them the links between their data, because they don't even know on their side, right? They don't have this. So it'd be quite cool if all the Python code that we have, it automatically keeps track of the merges and the joins, and then you can generate the ER diagram and give that to the customer on the platform. And this is possible now. So in bloodline, when you use the decorator, every join adds the join to a database of joins, and in the end, you can generate this ER diagram. Merci.